Back on the record, all jurors are present, all counsel and defendant are present. All right, Mr. Owens, your next witness.
Thank you. People call Chris Felan.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Chris Felan, C-H-R-I-S. My last name is spelled F like in Frank, E-L-A-N.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
All right, direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Felan.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the jury what you do for a living?
I'm currently an investigator with the District Attorney's Office.
How long have you been a district attorney investigator?
It'll be 5 years in June this year.
Prior to joining the district attorney's office, were you previously in law enforcement?
I was.
In what capacity?
I was a detective for the San Diego Police Department, and I did 28 years there.
So in your over 30 years of law enforcement experience, have you been called to testify in a number of different matters?
I have.
In terms of your role as a district attorney investigator, is one of your duties to follow up on any potential interviews of witnesses that may be called to testify in trial?
It is.
In terms of this particular case, were you and DAI Kathy Pierce assigned by the District Attorney's Office to both work on the prosecution of Kellen Winslow?
I was.
Now, was there a meeting that was set up in order to determine how the Sheriff's Department, that had been the primary investigating agency, and the District Attorney's Office Bureau of Investigation would divide up any, we'll just say, division of labor in terms of any new information coming forward?
Yes.
Was a decision made that the Bureau of Investigation through the District Attorney's Office would follow up on any new reports of potential sexual assaults involving Mr. Winslow?
There was an agreement.
And did you in fact do that over the course of this case?
I did.
Was one such report that came into the District Attorney's Office involving a person by the name of Jane Doe 4? That's how we're referring to it.
Yes.
What did you do in order to follow up on that reported sexual assault involving Jane Doe number 4?
I met with her and got a report, took an interview. Yes.
And did you in fact do that in North Carolina in her home?
I did.
That interview take place on July 6th of 2018.
It did.
Was I present for that?
Yes, you were.
How long would you say that lasted? Was it a brief interview or was it a lengthy interview?
It was a lengthy interview and it was broken up into two parts, basically.
When you say that it was broken up into two parts, was it because it had gone so long that we wanted to give her an opportunity to take a break?
That's correct.
Did that interview end up lasting nearly 3 hours?
Approximately, yes.
When, at least initially, when the decision was made to go and meet with Jane Doe number 4, had there been an initial synopsis report that had been taken by the Sheriff's Department before it being referred to the District Attorney's Office?
That was my understanding.
And when, after completing that interview with Jane Doe number 4, did she provide you with any photographs?
She did.
Did that include text message snapshots of a conversation that she had had with Nicole Edwards?
Yes, it was. There was.
Did that also include a photograph that she had?
Yes.
And Your Honor, if I can alert the media.
All right. This photograph should not be published.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 4. Is that the photograph that was given to you?
Yes, it was.
And when Jane Doe number 4 gave you that photograph, did she say that that was actually taken the night of the sexual assault on June 20th, 2003?
And that's what she told me.
Did she explain to you why she kept that photograph?
She didn't really know why, but she did have it. She couldn't really fully explain why.
Now, did you conduct any follow-up with regards to the vehicle that is depicted in this photograph?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
I did a records check on DMV and found that there was a black SUV registered to the family.
And had there been a black GMC SUV that was registered to Kellen Winslow?
There was.
And did you in fact obtain a vehicle identification number for that SUV?
I did.
And what did you do with that information?
I submitted to you with that report.
And did you at least follow up to determine whether the color of the GMC in order to, that was based upon that vehicle identification number?
As best as I could, yes.
And what information did you learn?
I learned it was a black, according to the vehicle code, vehicle identification number.
In addition to speaking to Jane Doe number 4, did you also attempt to contact a person by the name of Nicole Edwards?
I did.
Did you interview her on July 10th of 2018?
I did.
And where did that interview take place?
That took place at the Eastern Division Police Department station in San Diego.
At least as of July of last year, was Nicole Edwards still living in the San Diego area?
At that time, she was.
And did you actually sit down with her in person?
I did.
When you talked to Ms. Edwards, did you tell her why you were there?
I did.
What do you remember telling her?
I remember telling her about assault that may have occurred with a friend of hers, and I wanted to find out if she knew anything about it.
Did she recall the name of that person, yes or no?
Yes,
Was that in fact Jane Doe number 4?
it was.
Did you ask her about what she remembered happening with Jane Doe number 4?
I did.
Did she know the name of the person who had been involved in the sexual assault of Jane Doe number 4 in June of 2003?
She did.
What was the name that she recalled?
Kellen Winslow.
When you spoke to Ms. Edwards, did you ask her about what she recalled specifically Jane Doe number 4 telling her after the sexual assault?
I did.
Did she tell you that Mr. Winslow had forced himself on Jane Doe 4?
She told her after, like a day after or so. Not initially, but she told her.
Did she tell you that Jane Doe number 4 had told Mr. Winslow multiple times no and that he wouldn't listen?
That's correct. She did.
Did she also tell you that Jane Doe number 4 had said he was just so big she couldn't push him off of her?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained.
When you spoke to Ms. Edwards, did you talk to her about whether she knew Chris Resto?
She did.
Did you ask her about how she knew Chris Resto?
She was it was a group of friends that they would occasionally see each other at parties that they would go to, graduation parties, high school parties.
Did she ever say whether or not she was involved in any relationship with Mr. Resto?
She never told me that she was involved with him.
Did she ever say that she had been romantically involved with him?
She never said that to me.
Now, did she say whether or not she knew that Mr. Resto and Mr. Winslow were good friends?
That she reported to me that she felt that they were good friends.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Felan, you said that you located a black SUV that was registered to a Kellen Winslow.
That's correct.
That was a California registration, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Mr. Winslow Jr. was actually residing in Miami at the time. wasn't
I
he?
didn't know.
Well, just hang on just a moment. Let's make sure there's more of a pause between the question and answer so the court reporter can keep up. Make sure he's finished with the question in its entirety. All right, go ahead.
That vehicle was actually registered to Kellen Winslow Sr., isn't that right?
I believe so.
Okay. I want to shift your attention, if I could, to, you also interviewed Jane Doe 5, is that right?
That's correct.
And Jane Doe 5 told you what happened at the Crunch Fitness, right?
That's correct.
And you documented that, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. And she specifically told you regarding the second incident that after she exited the jacuzzi, she went and told her husband, who was by the pool. Is that right?
I don't know if she was by the pool or just entering the jacuzzi area.
Okay. And at the point that Jane Doe 5 tells her husband, that's the guy, the husband immediately recognized Winslow when he looked in the jacuzzi area. Isn't that right?
That's what she told me.
Right. And you wrote the word immediately, right?
I did.
Okay. Because that's what she said, right?
Again, that's what she said.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, anything further?
Yes, if I may, just
Go ahead.
as it relates to that interview with Jane Doe number 5, did that take place in her home on March 15th of 2019?
It did.
And was that in the presence of a victim advocate who had been working with Jane Doe number 5?
Yes.
Prior to March 15th of 2019, had Jane Doe number 5 been reluctant to have to come to court and testify regarding what Mr. Winslow had done?
Objection on irrelevant?
Overruled. You can answer.
Very.
What do you mean when you say very?
She did not want to come in. She was very reluctant. She was very embarrassed. Didn't want her to be known that she was involved in this.
And in terms of your interactions with her, did she repeatedly describe that she was afraid of Mr. Winslow?
Yes.
When she was describing what happened after she pointed Mr. Winslow out to her husband, did she say that she and her husband then immediately attempted to inform gym staff?
Objection on hearsay.
Sustained.
In relation to the context of when Jane Doe number 5 had said what her husband did after she identified Mr. Winslow, Mr. Watkins was just asking you whether or not he immediately recognized Winslow. Did she say that?
Yes.
What did she say they did after her husband had recognized Mr. Winslow?
Objection on hearsay.
Actually, I'll allow it. You can answer.
They went directly to management and informed of what happened.
Now, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, can this witness be excused?
You may.
Yes? All right. Thank you very much, investigator. You're excused. Any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor, at this point in time, subject to the receipt of the exhibits that have been previously identified, the people would rest.
All right, people rest?
We do.
All right, and we will reserve on the issue of the exhibits. We'll take up that matter outside the presence of the jury, but subject to the admission of the exhibits, the people rest. All right, Mr. Watkins?
Your Honor, if we could address this matter sidebar.
Oh,
The
we
court
can
reporter.
address it after the jury leaves. Are you going to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we'll reserve the motion, and you can call your first witness. Yes.
You call.
Need a new notebook, Your Honor?
All right. We have one full notebook. And are you alternate number 3? That's right, because we had a shift from alternate number 1. So we'll write alternate number 3 on there. Does anybody else need a new notebook or a new pen? Nope, we're good? All right, then you can call your first witness.
The defense calls Sergeant Emig.
All right?
If you would, raise your right hand. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
First name's James, James. Last is Emig, Emig.
Thank
All right, good afternoon, Sergeant Emig. All
Afternoon.
right, direct examination, Mr. Watkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Afternoon.
How are you currently employed?
By the San Diego County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, what are your duties?
I supervise the Family Protection Unit, which includes sexual assault and the Child Abuse Unit.
Okay, what were your duties back in 2018?
The same.
Okay. What sort of training and experience did you do that you have to have that position?
I've been on about 23 years, and I've been in several different assignments. If you want me to go through the whole thing, I can.
How long have you been in the sexual assault unit?
2.5 years.
Okay. And I'm going to direct your attention to a report that you received back in June 18th of 2018. Did you receive a phone call regarding a sexual assault?
I did.
Okay. And how did you receive that phone call?
I believe it came into our secretary, which at the time was Nita Pollard. She's since retired, but she sent the phone call to me, and I'm one of 3 sergeants in the unit, so I guess I was the most available at the time.
Okay, so she sent the phone call to you to take the report, take the information from the caller?
I'm not sure that she knew the nature of the call, other than it was related to the Winslow matter, which we were all aware of, and she didn't need that much information, so she just sent it to a supervisor.
Okay. And when you fielded that phone call, who was on the other end?
Without using true names?
Jane Doe number 4.
Thank you. So Jane Doe number 4 contacted you, and what did she say? Did she have something to report?
Yes, she said that she had been sexually assaulted by Kellen Winslow Jr. when she was in high school.
So at that point, of course, you're very interested, right?
Correct.
And you inquired into what happened?
Yes.
What did she tell you happened?
She told me that she was going to high school in Escondido at another high school, and had a friend who went to Scripps Ranch High School with Kellen Winslow Jr. and was a friend of his, and that Kellen Winslow Jr. picked her up to go with the intention to go to a house or a residence party.
Let me stop you right there. So she was specific in saying that Mr. Winslow drove his vehicle and picked her up?
I don't know that she mentioned it was his vehicle, but yes, that he picked her up.
Okay. And then what else did she explain to you?
She said that she was given a drink, I believe by Mr. Winslow.
Now, let me stop you right there.
Yes, sir.
She was given this drink by Mr. Winslow in the car while they're riding, while they're driving?
She didn't specify.
But she did specify that she was given a drink by Mr. Winslow.
Yes.
She received a drink. Okay, what else did she tell you?
She told me that at some point during the car ride, she didn't remember anything. She believes she lost consciousness. And then she awoke either at this residence or a house, some building, and there were several males groping and digitally penetrating her. And at some point they all left, and that Kellen Winslow Jr. had intercourse, vaginal intercourse with her, unwanted vaginal intercourse, and that's the last thing she remembered.
Did she describe these other males that were digitally penetrating her and fondling her?
I didn't ask.
Okay. So you took basically a little summary of what happened that night. You didn't take a very detailed statement, is that right?
That's correct.
But what you do remember, and the details that you did note, were the fact that Mr. Winslow picked her up in a car, right?
Correct.
And that she was given a drink by Mr. Winslow, right?
Correct.
And during that car ride is when she went unconscious.
Yes. Or lost memory.
Okay. And then she awoke and she was being digitally penetrated. Is that
Objection,
right?
reading and asked and answered.
Sustained.
When she described that she said that she was being digitally penetrated, did she go into detail at all?
No.
When she said that she was being fondled, did she go into detail at all?
No.
But she did say those two things, right?
Yes, sir.
And she didn't describe what the other males were, right?
No.
Okay. And then you didn't necessarily write a report at that time, is that right?
A short time later, I wrote an email, and then about 2 months later, when that email gained significance in this case, I wrote a report about it.
Okay. So the first thing you do to document this was write an email, is that right?
Correct.
And you wrote
Well,
down-
actually, the first thing I did was call Deputy District Attorney Owens.
Okay. And then you subsequently emailed him, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And in the email, did you document what she said?
Yes.
Did you document that she lost consciousness while in the vehicle with Mr. Winslow?
I would have to check my report to ensure that that's the exact same language, but something to that effect.
If I showed you a copy of that email, would that help refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Let me approach that.
Yes, of course, go ahead.
The portion that's underlined in blue, I take it?
You're certainly a detective.
Yes, sir, that's the language.
So you documented in the email that she went unconscious during the car ride, right?
Correct.
And that she awoke to being fondled and digitally penetrating by several males, right?
Correct.
Now, that's not stuff that you made up, that's stuff that she told you, right?
Objection argumentative.
Overruled, you can answer.
Could you repeat the question?
That's not anything that you made up, that's what she told you, right?
Of course not.
Of course not what?
That, I did not make it up, sir.
Okay, and is that what she told you then? It was a compound question,
It
so.
was. So that's what she told you, right?
If you're referring to the piece of paper that you just put in front of me and the language that you just described, is that what she told me? Yes, sir, it was.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, Cross?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Sergeant Emig.
Afternoon.
Prior to this phone call taking place on June 18th, 2018, you had attended a meeting with other investigators at the District Attorney's Office, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, at that meeting, there was a decision that had been made that any additional reports of sexual assaults at the hands of Mr. Winslow would be handled by the District Attorney's Office Bureau of Investigation, right?
That's correct.
And at least in terms of the media attention that the case had gained, there were news articles that were published listing the Sheriff's Major Crimes Division phone number for any individuals who may have information about Mr. Winslow, right?
That's correct.
And in fact, that's how that phone number ended up being used to contact what ended up being you, right?
I believe so.
Now, as the sergeant of the sexual assault unit, you also work with various other divisions, correct?
Correct. There's 3 sergeants that supervise the sexual assault unit and the child abuse unit.
And you're one of the 3?
That's correct.
And is it fair to say that you were involved in supervising some of the detectives who had been actively investigating this case involving Mr. Winslow during the spring of 2018? Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And for example, you were present during the search warrant that took place at Mr. Winslow's residence on June 14th, right?
I was.
And you were at least aware, generally speaking, of the actions of the investigators up to the point of June 18th when you took this report, right?
That's correct.
Were you one of the detectives assigned to the case?
No.
Were the detectives who were assigned to the case more familiar with the individual cases that had been reported about Mr. Winslow?
Your Honor, speculation.
Overruled, you can answer.
Yes, they were more intimately familiar with the cases.
In terms of this phone report that came in, you testified on direct examination that you were taking a general summary of that information, right?
That's correct.
And in fact, at the meeting, when we were discussing how it was that we were going to be able to follow up on these types of reports, you volunteered to at least field any of those reports and then relay them to the District Attorney's Office?
That's correct.
In fact, was that basically the division of labor that was decided at that point?
It was.
Now, when you received this call, did you record it?
No, I did not.
So the references that Mr. Watkins was making were, in fact, your words that were written in an email, is that right?
That's correct.
When this phone call came in, how long would you say it lasted?
10 to 15 minutes.
After that conversation that you had with Jane Doe number 4, you said the first thing you did was you contacted me directly, right?
Correct.
And did I in fact ask you to please document that information and send it to me?
Yes, in an email.
And did you send it to me in an email?
I did about an hour and 20 minutes later.
So then when you drafted the email, that was about, let's say, an hour, 20 minutes, close to an hour and a half after you actually had the phone conversation, right?
That's correct.
Was that your best recollection of what she had told you as you were writing it at that time?
It was.
But it wasn't recorded, was it?
It was not recorded.
And is it fair to say you weren't taking down any notes contemporaneously at the time she was telling you this?
No notes.
But you were at least attempting to screen the information and relay it to the DA's office so then they can go conduct an interview, right?
Exactly, and I wanted the DA's office to know, at least have a synopsis of what they were looking at.
Right. And you're aware that at least later then, subsequent to June 18th, that the district attorney's office did go and sit down with Jane Doe number 4 and conduct a lengthy interview with her.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Now, do you know whether or not during the course of that interview with her, she denied saying certain portions of what you had concluded in your email?
I had heard that from detectives, but I hadn't seen any, I hadn't witnessed the interviews personally.
For example, you included within your email that she said she went to high school in Escondido, right?
Yes,
And that she also said that she had a female friend who attended Scripps Ranch High School, right?
right.
Are you aware of whether or not that female friend actually attended Mount Carmel High School?
I am not.
And you were just doing the best you could to document what she had told you?
That's correct.
Were you aware that Mr. Winslow at least had attended Scripps Ranch High School?
I had been told that. I had not seen direct evidence of that.
And that was based upon at least the status of the investigation at that time and the information that was being shared by the investigators, correct?
That is correct.
Now, in terms of the individuals that she said had sexually assaulted her, she did identify Mr. Winslow, didn't she?
She did.
And she in fact said that he had been raping her while she was in an extremely groggy state, correct?
That's correct.
And during the course of at least the way that you were documenting that statement, she said that the other individuals who were involved in the sexual assault were friends of Mr. Winslow's, right?
She did.
Isn't it true that she also told you that she was too embarrassed and feared retaliation from Mr. Winslow?
After the incident, correct, immediately after, and I think the weeks following.
When she was describing the reason why she hadn't come forward, right?
That's correct.
Didn't she say that she felt that Mr. Winslow's status would prevent any success with a report to law enforcement?
Yes, she did.
Didn't she say also that she told you that she wasn't necessarily interested in having her case prosecuted?
That's correct.
Didn't she also say that she was very interested in supporting the accusers in the current case because of what had happened to her before?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect, Mr. Watkins?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, you were the first person to talk to her, right?
I believe so.
Okay, and you said your conversation lasted between 10 and 15 minutes?
That's my recollection.
Okay.
But it was
And-
almost a year ago.
Okay. Did you tell her not to give you any specifics when you asked her what happened?
Well, I don't know if I used that language, but I did tell her, I think the term I might have used was nuts and bolts. I wanted a nuts and bolts, quick rundown of what she had experienced so I could relay that to the DA's office. And I also told her that at a later date, yet to be determined, that we would have a more extensive interview with her,
Right.
possibly in person.
And she gave you the nuts and bolts, right?
Correct.
And you documented that in an email about an hour later after getting off the phone with her?
About an hour and 20 minutes, yes.
Hour and 20 minutes exactly, okay? And that was very fresh in your mind still, right?
Pretty fresh.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
All right,
I'm
anything
sorry.
further? Oh, go ahead.
One last question. Did she ever tell you anything about being videotaped?
No.
Okay, nothing further.
All right, anything further, Mr. Owens?
No, thank you.
All right, can this witness be excused?
You may.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Sarge. Have a nice day. Next witness, Mr. Watkins, or Mr. Carlos?
if you would.
Well, just a minute. Who's this witness?
Sesma.
All right, go ahead and raise your right hand.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand.
Good afternoon.
And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Dennis Martin Sesma. Dennis, Dennis. Sesma, S like Sam, ESMA.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. All right, direct examination, Mr. Carlos.
Sure. Mr. Sesma, how are you employed?
Private investigator.
What's, for the jury's sake, what's a private investigator do?
Private investigator is hired by either the county on some cases, but by private attorneys to conduct investigations on behalf of their clients.
What is your background in regards to investigation?
I've been a private investigator for 30 years. Prior to that, I was a police officer for the city of San Diego.
Did you have any investigative duties as a police officer for San Diego?
Yes, I was a gang sergeant, a gang detective, investigating gang incidents, gang homicides. Became a sergeant and went to narcotics. I was detective sergeant in charge of narcotics.
Have you been retained to assist in the representation of Kellen Winslow?
I have.
And you're being paid for your time?
Yes, I am.
Have you reviewed the discovery in this case?
The majority of it, yes.
So you're acquainted with the general facts and details of this particular case?
Yes, I am.
Were you given a task you're assigned to investigate witnesses, correct?
Correct.
Were you also sent to document with photographs some of the crime scenes?
Yes, I was.
In relation to Jane Doe number 1, what were you asked to do?
I was asked to go to the scene located at the Santa Fe Shopping Center
Can you
and
move the
take
microphone a little
photographs.
closer? Can you move the microphone a little closer to you and speak into it?
It's the skinny microphone, and maybe scoot your chair up a little bit. I turned it all the way up too, so make sure you keep your voice up if you can, okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. You were saying-
Anyway, I was assigned to take photographs of what was believed to be the scene of the incident at the Santa Fe Shopping Center.
Okay, can I get 114, please? Showing Mr. marked as courts 114. Okay, do you recognize courts 114?
Yes, I believe that's the shopping center.
Okay, is that the shopping center at, on Santa Fe Drive?
Yes, sir.
And at the top of the photograph to the right, is that the Interstate 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so the parking lot which is depicted there is the parking lot to the, is that the Bonds?
Correct.
Okay. The area to the far right bottom, you see that?
Yes, I do.
Did you personally go down to that area?
Several times.
Okay, and what was the purpose of you being there?
To examine the scene.
The cars that are parked in that back corner, what is back there, the back right corner?
It's a parking lot. And then off to the right is a area with ground cover.
Okay, is that ice plant off to the right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the cars that are parked there in the center of the picture right there, are those two allocated spots?
The ones in the very center, yes, those are
Yes.
allocated spots.
Okay, just for the record, the exhibit has been focused on the lower right-hand corner of the exhibit, and he's talking about the center of the portion that's been magnified, which is still the bottom right corner of the exhibit.
Out of your arm.
All right, go ahead.
And the cars that are parked, which it looks to be adjacent to a building, you see those?
Yes,
Where are those? I mean, and what building is that? Do you know?
those are up against the building that goes to the back door of the sushi lounge and the Best Cleaners.
Okay, is there a door, are there back doors to those two establishments in that parking lot?
Yes, there is.
So with using this photo, did you, can I get that blow up again, by the way, the same one we had? So you said that there's some ground cover, which is ivy, right? Off to the right.
I believe it's ice plant.
I'm sorry, ice plant. And right above that is a freeway on-ramp?
Yes, that's the freeway on-ramp to southbound Interstate 5 from Santa Fe.
Okay, so did you physically go into, up to where the ice plant is?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what was the purpose of doing that?
To take measurements and determine distances from certain points to other certain points.
So what is in the ice plant? I mean, are there any is there a fence?
Well, there's a fence that borders it on the, what would be the west side. And then at the top, of course, is the freeway ramp, which is on the east side.
So when you went there, did you document this with photographs?
Yes, I did.
Can I get 105, please?
Your Honor, can I ask what exhibit this is?
105.
105, okay.
Can you blow that up a little bit? Get a little more, maybe? Okay. Colors, the lights are a bit off, but is the fence depicted in that photo? Maybe you can use that one behind you. See it?
That's much easier, yes. Yes, that is the fence.
Okay. And can you use that pointer? Can you show us, is there a gate there that's in the picture?
There's a pointer in front of the microphones there. There you go.
Thank you. Yes, the gate opening is right there.
Okay. That's the picture right there, that's the gate you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that's in the ice plant area?
Yeah, it's right on the border of the ice plant and will be just plain dirt.
Okay, so there's dirt before the ice plant?
Correct.
Can I get 104, please? Do you see that photo?
Yes, I do.
Did you take that photo?
Yes, I did.
Does that photo accurately depict the fence that is bordering the parking lot and the ice plant by the freeway?
Yes, it
Your
does.
Honor, objection vague as to what portion of the fence?
Well, you can cover it on cross. This is the fence between the southbound Interstate 5 on-ramp from Santa Fe and the parking lot by the sushi lounge.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right.
Let me ask
The
you this.
objection's overruled, you can cover it on cross.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Sesma. Did you walk the length of the fence?
Yes, I did.
So does this photo accurately represent the condition of the fence?
Yes, that was the purpose of this picture, just to show the general condition of the fence.
Okay, so the picture indicates there's not really a ledge or anything on top, right? It's just wire that sticks out.
Correct.
Okay. Can I get 111, please? You see? Can we blow that up a little bit? Thank you. What is this photo of?
This is a photo taken from the top of the bank, basically just at the ramp area to Interstate 5 South, looking down the bank, westbound, more towards the entrance area to the sushi lounge.
Okay. Can you point to the area where the back doors to those establishments may have been? Okay, right there.
In this area.
You're pointing to the far left.
Yes.
The far left top of the exhibit,
Okay.
all right?
So we've blown it up. Can you do that again, please? We've blown it up, and there's like cars are visible apart. There's it looks like a garbage can. Is that where the doors are?
Yes, it is.
It looks like
Looks like, what'd you say?
I thought
The
it was
court
garbage.
reporter didn't get it.
I thought it looked like a garbage can. I don't know.
Okay.
It's something standing there. It's something green, right? But the doors to those two establishments are on that wall.
Yes, they are.
And I'm gonna ask you to get 107, please. And blow that up again toward the. Okay, what does that show?
That's the photograph looking from the edge of the parking lot from the Santa Fe shopping center back along the side of the building of the sushi lounge and into the area that we've been discussing where there's the ice plant.
Okay, so the sushi lounge is visible in the right corner picture, correct?
Right here, yes.
And there's an establishment next door to that, which would be off right of the photo,
Well, we turned it over here, the cleaners.
right, the cleaners?
Correct.
And what's after the cleaners?
I believe that's further down the 24-hour fitness.
24-hour fitness, and then after the 24-hour fitness?
I believe it's Vaughn's. I
Okay,
did
so
check.
a number of commercial establishments?
Yes, the buildings go on and on, going westbound, and then there's another section that goes towards the north.
So you took this photo, where are you standing right now?
We're standing at the edge of the parking lot?
Okay, and you see cars parked off to the left there?
Correct.
And so behind you, as we saw on the overhead, there's a large parking lot for all the businesses, right?
Yes, to the right and then behind.
Okay. Now, as part of your investigation in this case, part of your investigation, I asked you to do some measurements.
Yes,
Okay. Did you prepare some of your measurements in a report?
yes, I did.
Do you have that with you?
No, I don't have it.
Give me a copy of it. Look at that. Tell me whether that's the information that you prepared.
Yes, these are some of the measurements I prepared, yes.
Okay. So I asked you to do walking times, right?
Correct.
Explain to the jury what you were going to do for walking times.
Well, I was given certain points to start from and determine how long it took me to just generally, a regular walk from the start point to the back door of the sushi lounge, the back door of the cleaners, the front door of the sushi lounge, and the front door of the cleaners.
Okay, when you say regular walk, this is speed walking or just strolling? What are you doing?
Just a regular pace walk, not hurried, not slow.
Okay. So what did you do first?
Well, the first one I did was from the, well, it was from that photo that showed the center portion of the parking lot from the very far back parking space.
Is it in this photo?
No.
Talking about the overhead shot, the aerial view?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Okay.
that's 114.
So I started,
Can we blow up that right corner?
No, I think he's talking about are you talking about the center of the entire large parking lot?
no, back here.
Okay, so we're gonna blow up the lower right-hand corner of that exhibit.
That's good.
It was from the very last parking space here.
Okay, we're showing at the bottom, which would be the bottom right of the photo, that's the last car that's parked there?
Yes,
Okay. And why did you use that as a reference point?
because I was told to.
Okay. There's parks. Did I tell you to do that? There are cars, that's where the cars are parked, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what did you do?
I walked from there to the back door of the sushi lounge, came back, and I walked from there, the car, to the back door of the cleaners.
How long did it take you to walk to the sushi lounge from that location?
To the back door of the sushi lounge, it took me 17 seconds.
And to the desk cleaners?
It took me 19 seconds.
What did you do next?
Well, then I went from that same location, the back parking space, to the front door of the sushi lounge, and the front door of the cleaners.
So in order to do that, you would have to walk around, you have to go around the building, right?
Yes, you have to go from here around to the right, and then it's right here in the front, right here.
Okay,
Okay, indicating he was gonna be walking along the east side of the building, between the building and the highway, the freeway on-ramp, heading northbound, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, next question.
and what did you determine?
Well, to go from the parking space to the front door of the sushi lounge, it took 37 seconds. And then from the, again, back to the car to the front door of the cleaners, it took 42 seconds.
All right. What did you do next?
Well, after that, I walked from the very corner of the fence, which would be back here.
Okay, is that the farthest point back before you hit that structure there?
Yeah, it's where there's like a wall that meets the fence, and you can't go any further.
Is that
Okay, well, on this
Doesn't show.
photograph, it's the furthest to the right-hand side of the paved area of the parking lot, right? So
Yes, Your Honor.
kind of in a very angled,
Very pie shaped, yes, Your Honor.
right, pie-shaped court, and that was the furthest corner of that angle there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's the best I can describe it, but it's at the lower right-hand corner of the exhibit, almost at the very right-hand edge. Okay,
So from that position, what did you do?
Then I walked to the back door of the sushi lounge, and that took 35 seconds. Went back to the corner again and walked to the back door of the cleaners, and it took me 42 seconds.
All right, and what else did you do?
Then again from that corner to the front door of the sushi lounge was 42 seconds.
So let me, to the sushi lounge and the front door, can you use your pointer then, what route you took?
I'm sorry, again?
What route you took
I went
from the farthest point out?
Here. At first I went from here to here.
okay, indicating the corner, that pie-shaped corner of the parking lot to the back door of the sushi lounge. And that's where 3 cars are parked right in a row, correct, shown on this photo?
Correct. Those cars would be just to the left of the door, Your Honor.
Okay,
Then I went from the corner again to the back door, which is over here, of the Best Cleaners.
Okay, where the door is at.
Correct. Then I came back and I walked from the corner to the front door of the sushi lounge.
Okay, so you walk through, I guess, some dirt that's there,
Across the
ivy?
dirt, over the sidewalk, the driveway, around the corner.
Okay, and how long did that take you?
It took me 42 seconds.
And then you also went to the Best Cleaners?
Yes, I went back again, and from the corner to the front door of the cleaners, again, basically the same route, over the dirt, over the sidewalk, around. I believe it took me 47 seconds.
Okay, did you use another point on the fence line for measurements?
Yes, I picked an area that was where it's bent down. It's bent down where it appears that it has been used by people to cross over.
Mr. Watkins wanted me to ask you, you don't have any impediments to your walking? Are you a slow walker or a fast walker?
Well, I'm not the fastest walker, but I don't think I'm the slowest either.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
So anyway, I arbitrarily picked a point only because it seemed like that was where the fence was crossed over the most, other than the hole in the fence. So I went from the point approximately here to the back door of the sushi lounge, and again from that point to the back door of the cleaners.
okay, and indicating on the diagram, the area where the fence is pushed down was, what, approximately 20 feet north of that corner you described earlier?
Approximately, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And how long did that take you to do those routes?
From that portion of the fence that's bent down to the back door of the sushi lounge took me 22 seconds. And again, from the point where it's bent down on the fence to the back door of the Best Cleaners took me 32 seconds.
Okay. Did you use another point of reference?
Well, again, I went from there, from the bent portion, to the front door of the sushi lounge and to the front door of the cleaners.
Right, that's around the front of the building, right?
Correct.
And how long did that take?
Well, to go from that bent portion, across the dirt, over the sidewalk, around to the front door of the sushi lounge, took me 35 seconds. And to go from the bent portion, again, across the dirt and around to the front door of the cleaners, took me 40 seconds.
Did you use another point of reference on the fence?
Yes, I used one more. I used the gate and the fence that we've seen. And I used the gate, which is further up this way. It's not very clear up here, but it's up this way. And I walked from there, across the dirt, across the sidewalk to the back door of the sushi lounge, from the gate, again, across the dirt, sidewalk, to the back door of the cleaners. To walk from the gate to the sushi lounge was 17 seconds, to the back door, that is. To walk from the gate to the back door of Best Cleaners was 27 seconds.
Okay, so is that the extent of the measurements for that?
Well, there was the one, again, I went from the gate to the front door of the sushi lounge and to the front door of the cleaners. To go from the gate to the front door of the sushi lounge was 21 seconds, and to go from the gate to the front door of the Best Cleaners was 26 seconds.
So the longest it took you to walk from the farthest point to the front of the building would have been 47 seconds?
Yes, correct.
And the shortest trip would have been, under your walk, would have been 17 seconds?
Yes, sir.
Were you asked to visit a Manchester Road? You recall that?
I'm sorry, say
Were you
again?
asked to visit Manchester Road as part of this investigation?
Yes, I was.
And what was your purpose for doing that?
Because I was directed to see if there was places that it was feasible to make a turnaround.
Okay.
No audio, just.
As part of your investigation, did you prepare a dash cam video?
Yes, I did.
And this has been previously shown to the people. Can you get 181 up? First of all, describe what you did. Tell the jury what you did to prepare for this particular video.
Well, the information that I was given was that for the purposes of what I was doing, it was thought that the lights at the gas station would have been visible. So I hooked up the dash cam and went to the college, and from the college started, which is 0.6 of a mile from the gas station, and started, which is actually kind of southwest at that point, and then it goes west to that area, which would be just east of the gas station.
Okay. And so your purpose was to document what it might look like if you're driving the vehicle?
Correct.
Okay. Can we get it up? What? Might have to hold on some of this. So right here, you're at a stoplight, right?
Yes,
Where are you?
the Maricosta College,
Maricosta College, and that in front of you is what road?
that's Manchester.
Okay, so you're basically waiting for the light to change?
Correct.
Go ahead. of traffic today? There's a lot of traffic on this day?
I didn't know when it was gonna change.
You could have gone. Come on. All right, so now you're on the road. Okay, I want to stop right here. Immediately to your right, is that a sidewalk, right?
Yes, it is.
And is that a painted, dedicated bike lane?
Yes, it is.
So how wide is it from the bike lane to the curb, do you know?
I believe it's 3 feet.
All right. And off to the left, what is that off to the left?
Open area?
And is there a sidewalk there?
I don't recall.
Okay. There's a bike lane painted?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, stop right here. So, can you see, you talked about a gas station, can you see the gas station from here?
I believe that you may, at nighttime, have been able to see lights.
Okay. And still from this position here, the shoulder is basically, a bike lane. Can a car fit in the shoulder for a parking?
In that bike lane,
Right,
it would protrude outside the bike lane.
okay. Continue. Stop. So the structure off to the right by the palm tree, is that the gas station?
Yes, sir.
And directly in front would that be the I-5?
Pardon me?
If you're headed straight, heading straight for the I-5, correct?
Correct. That's, you can see it on the, above.
All right. Could you finish this now? And stop. Gas station's to your right, right?
Correct.
And the freeway is right in front of you.
Correct.
And still, the side of the road remained the same. There's just basically a bike lane, about 3 to 5 feet bike lane, and that's it.
That's all there is, yes.
And the empty space is off to the left. Still,
Just brush.
just brush. And did you notice were there the streetlights? Were the streetlights on that road? You rode during the day, but are there lights?
Not that location, no.
Okay. So we're good. So that's basically got you all the way to the freeway.
Correct.
Okay.
You got ready to run a red light, it looks like?
I'll stipulate that it's yellow.
It's yellow, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Rose.
I know. You had us waiting there all that time at the end of it. That was the extent of the investigation on the road, just to drive it, to see the road conditions, correct?
Correct.
All right. I have nothing further on.
All right, Cross?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Sesma.
Good afternoon, Ms. Rose.
Thank you for your work in looking at some of those measurements. Let me ask you a little bit about your experience. You mentioned that you had been with the San Diego Police Department before you became a private investigator.
Yes, sir.
And if you've been a private investigator for the last 30 years, is it fair to say that you've primarily been working with defense teams on criminal cases?
I'd say probably 75%.
Right. And prior to your 30 years as a private investigator, how many years did you actually spend with the San Diego Police Department?
I believe it was 18.
You mentioned that you had been working in gangs investigations, right?
Correct.
Had you ever been like a gang suppression detail or working street-related offenses?
Yeah, but as a detective, not as a uniformed officer.
Would you agree with me that you were in a number of stressful circumstances at times when you were a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Maybe some of that might rise to the level of being a little traumatic?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me that when you're in a traumatic situation or a stressful situation, time somewhat slows down a little bit?
Objection, Your Honor, outside the scope.
Sustained.
Now, in terms of your measurements, did you take them in the middle of the day like you did on that, on the dash cam video?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you remember what day of the week it was?
I believe it was Wednesday.
Was that just 2 days ago on the 28th, the same day that we saw him printed on the video?
Yes, sir.
When you took those measurements, would you agree that you were walking at a normal pace?
Yes, sir.
And you would also agree that you were not hurried or concerned for your safety in any way, right?
Yes, correct.
Now, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
We saw a number of photographs of this area. First, I'm going to direct your attention to Court's Exhibit 114. Darrell, can you display that for me? Just so you have a chance to actually orient yourself. You have Court's Exhibit 114 right here. It helps you to refer to these locations, then please, we'll do that with 114. So you were focused primarily on the bottom right-hand corner of the exhibit in terms of the distances, right?
Just to
The measurements of the distances that you took?
the various points, yes.
Yes. And in terms of those measurements, those were based upon what Mr. Carlos was asking you to look at, right?
Correct.
Now, some of the photographs that you showed depicted that there was a gate alongside the dividing line between the pavement and the ice plant that's visible in 114, right?
Well, the game is kind of up on the dirt a little bit, so it's not like against the pavement.
Right, there's an area adjacent to the pavement where it ends, and then there's a dirt area that then leads to the fence that then leads to the ice plant, correct?
Correct.
And the gate would actually be to the north and almost adjacent to the sushi lounge, right?
Very close.
As far as the lower portion of the gate, that would be closer to that wall that we see in the bottom right-hand corner. That's a wall that separates the parking lot from a storage area for the park that's adjacent, correct?
I believe that's what it separates.
If we can switch over, Splitter. Showing you what's been marked as Court's Exhibit 20 for identification. You see this retaining wall in the foreground of this photograph?
Yes, I do.
And does that actually show the retaining wall that divides the pavement to the rear of the sushi lounge from what you can see as being dirt and then even some ice plant overgrowth?
It'd actually be basically to the east a little bit, but yes.
Right. And when I say adjacent to, I mean to the even with.
Correct.
Okay. And looking at that dirt area, that stretches almost in a triangular pattern southbound from this perspective, right?
Exactly.
Meaning the fence continues to get farther away from the parking lot and the businesses that are there, correct?
Yes, it does.
And you can see in the distance on Court's Exhibit 20 what I referred to as being the wall that divides the storage area for the park and that dirt lot, right?
Yes, it's this here.
Thank you very much. You're indicating on the right portion in the center of the Exhibit 20, right?
Correct.
And in terms of that fence, the chain link fence, that extends all the way from that walled area for the storage facility all the way northbound alongside the parking lot, correct?
Yes, it does.
And at least as it stands right here, how tall would you say that fence is?
At the tallest, I believe it's over 5 feet.
Right. Showing you Court's Exhibit 21 for identification. Do you see that you can, that concrete wall in the corner dividing the storage area and the chain link fence, this is the actual point where they meet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you can recognize that ice plant, right?
Yes, sir.
And you see that the ice plant has actually overgrown that fence in this location?
At that location, yes.
And can you see that that fence is actually pulled down or bent over at that location?
Yes, I do.
Showing you Courts Exhibit 22 for identification, is this a northbound viewpoint from that same spot along the fence?
Yes, it is.
And you can see that the ice plant itself actually feeds up and then over and comes within maybe a foot of the top of the fence, correct?
Yes, sir.
You took these your photographs about 2 days ago, right?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware when these photographs were taken? The photographs that I'm showing you here.
No, sir.
Showing you Courts Exhibit 23 for identification, would you agree that this is a viewpoint from that same corner now looking in a northwestern direction towards that parking lot and the back of the sushi lounge?
I can't tell if it's from the very corner or part way up the fence line.
Okay, so you would agree that it would be in an area that's adjacent to the fence that we were just showing you?
Yes, sir.
And in terms of that distance, you said that that would be approximately a normal pace, maybe 42 seconds to walk to one of those rear doors?
I don't know the point that
Okay.
you're talking about.
But the point that you measured the distance for 42 seconds was the actual corner between the fence and the wall, correct?
That was one of them, yes, sir.
Now, in terms of the dash cam video that you took, you were instructed by Mr. Carlos to begin somewhere around the college, I think you said?
He didn't tell me where to start, but I was trying to locate a point where I knew, I could tell that the gas station and/or the gas station lights would not be visible.
Okay. And you were doing this at about 1:20 or so in the afternoon 2 days ago, right?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't at night, was it?
No, sir.
But you noted on direct examination that there weren't any street lights in that general area, right?
Correct.
Would you agree that around 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night in the month of May that it would be dark out?
Yes, sir.
And in that time frame, without street lights around, traveling on Manchester would be significantly different from the dash cam we saw?
Yes, sir.
Showing you Courts Exhibit 6, previously identified. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor.
I'll order that this exhibit not be published by the media.
Thank you for the reminder, Your Honor. Now, in terms of the information that you had and what you were asked to do, would you agree that you began your path of travel somewhere along Manchester Avenue and then ended that path of travel right as you almost ran that deep, deep yellow light?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you show us where it was that you started when you say you started around the college?
I would think, I don't see the,
The college itself isn't depicted on the
yeah,
map.
I would have to think it's from right around the inn, maybe, in Manchester.
Okay, and that would be the entrance to what is Miracosta College, and you're saying right around the end.
I believe that's where it is.
Right. And you mentioned that there's all open space along the San Elijo Lagoon, correct?
Yes.
And that's noted as the San Elijo Lagoon, which would be the watershed that then continues all the way up along Manchester, and then when it splits off to the northeastern direction, that's all wooded open space, correct?
Yeah, wooded, correct, yes.
And Mr. Carlos asked you on direct examination, you don't know if there's an actual sidewalk or anything separating the pavement on what would be the south or southeast part of Manchester.
No,
right?
not that I saw, I couldn't say.
And you stopped right here on what would be the northbound on-ramp leading to the 5 freeway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I know you didn't run that red light.
Thank you.
Now, you didn't follow the entire path of travel from Vulcan Avenue northbound to Encinitas Boulevard, then southbound down El Camino Real, leading to southbound on Manchester, did you?
I'm sorry, could you say again?
I can. You didn't follow the entire path of travel northbound on Vulcan Avenue to eastbound on Encinitas Boulevard to southbound on El Camino Real, did you?
Not for the purposes of this video.
So you're familiar with that area, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And if I may, just bring up one last exhibit. Showing you Court's Exhibit 90. You recognize this area as being the path that you traveled when you took that dash cam video?
In part, yes.
And when you say in part, it does actually show the entirety of it, doesn't it? So if we have Miracosta Community College that's located in the area that I'm pointing to, which would be just above the end of the E in Avenue on Manchester Avenue, that's about where you started, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you can see that that would be all the open space that is around there, and you don't know if there's a sidewalk or if it's just dirt road, do you?
No, I do not.
And you traveled there, and you went, we'll call it southbound on Manchester Avenue, but moving in a southwestern direction, and you stopped here, right along the 5 freeway, correct?
Correct.
You didn't continue past the 5 freeway and go into this area around here, west of the freeway, into the Sandalijo Lagoon Preserve, did you?
Not for purposes of this, no.
So are you aware whether or not this entire stretch of road actually has dirt alongside of it?
Again, with the area west of the freeway on Manchester?
Beginning east of the freeway on Manchester and then continuing to west of the freeway.
Okay.
On which side of the street?
On what would be, we'll call it the southbound side of the street.
The south side of Manchester?
Yes.
All right, do you understand the question, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can answer.
I believe there's a small shoulder area.
And is there a small shoulder area as you get close to the on-ramps to the freeway? Is that what you're referring to?
On the other side, on the west side.
Right along here, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you see this path of travel that's delineated in red that extends beginning on Lake Drive and down now south on El Camino Real and then into this area along Manchester Avenue?
Yes, sir.
And I noticed that on the dash cam video, there's quite a bit of significant construction around the area that leads to the on-ramp to the 5 freeway where Manchester meets it, right?
Yes, sir.
Especially 2 days ago, in fact, aren't they building a direct access lane that's going to allow people to park and then get into the, we'll call it the diamond lane?
I really couldn't tell you what they were
You
doing.
saw quite a bit of construction, right?
Quite a bit, yes.
So as far as when you took the video 2 days ago, would you agree that perhaps with all that construction, it's changed quite a bit since May 13th of 2018?
It's possible, yes.
And you didn't do a dash cam video on the night of May 13th, 2018, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect?
I did just miss a couple of photos. Were you sent to examine the vehicle associated with Mr. Winslow?
Yes, I was.
What did you do?
I was directed to examine the mechanisms regarding the door locks and the window locks and to determine the distance between certain portions of the passenger side seat to the end of the extended passenger door.
Okay. Did you take photos of the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Can I get 173, please?
Is this exhibit been marked?
It has, Your Honor.
173? Okay.
Is that your image in the photo? Taking the picture?
Do you see your reflection on there?
I guess where it's me or
It's a little more
Yes.
blocking. Okay, what is that photo of?
of the passenger side door,
Okay, you opened up the
And then-
passenger side door?
yes.
All right. And is that the condition that it was in when you took the photo, essentially?
Yes.
Right. Can I get 174, please? What is this photo of?
That's this photo of the same door from a different angle without my reflection.
Okay, so the seat that's visible there, was it moved all the way forward or all the way back, or was it just in a regular position? Do you know?
It was in the position that I got it, that I observed it in from where the sheriffs had it.
Okay, so you don't know what the sheriffs may have done to the vehicle before you got to see it?
Well, I know that they did some things, but I can't tell you if they moved it.
Okay. Did it appear to be in a normal position? I guess that's the question.
It was in a normal type position.
And so, you know, you saw this vehicle, right?
Yes,
I mean, you walked around it,
yes,
you went inside of it,
yes,
took photos of it.
yes,
That vehicle, and you also drove Manchester toward the gas station.
yes.
What, if that vehicle were parked on the side of the road on Manchester, would it stand out?
I would think a Hummer on the side of the road would stand out.
Would it jut out into the actual roadway?
Depending upon where it's parked, yes, it more than likely would.
As part of the investigation, you knew that there was, in relation to Jane Doe 2, there was some testimony regarding the transit center in Encinitas. All
Yes.
that. So were you asked to go to the transit center also?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to ask you to look at 175, please. What is that a photo of?
That's a photo of the transit center where it was common for people to sit.
Okay. Can I get 176? Another photo of the traffic center?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 177? What is this?
That's a picture from the, what would be the south end of the transit center, again, where the people sit, looking northbound through the parking lot.
When you say people sit, you mean what we consider to be transients sit there?
Well, it's open for everybody, but yeah, that's where transients congregate.
Where you went looking for them?
Yes.
Can I get 178? What is that a photo of?
It's another picture of the transit center looking towards the north.
Okay. Is the ocean behind us or in the picture, or is it on the left side?
The ocean would be to the left. You can see the tops of the tents. They're on the left side. It would be further left of that.
Okay. 179, please. What is this photo of?
This is a photo from the transit center, closer towards where the trolley or the train stopped, looking at the bicycle shop, which is denoted by the outline of a red roof.
Okay, and since we're on that subject, can I get 172? So is that the bicycle shop you just talked about?
Yeah, that's the bicycle shop, and the transit center would be just on the other side to the left.
So when you say other side, you mean behind the bike shop?
Yeah, that's a better description, yes, behind it to the left.
So there's a tree that's there, right? Is that tree in the parking lot to the transit center?
Yes, it is.
And for the record, there's a bushy tree next to a palm tree, but it's behind the shop, right?
Yes.
Can I get 180, please? Is that the tree?
That's it?
Okay, so that's the parking lot to the transit center where some of the people hang out? essentially?
Yes, sir.
The other thing, so you were asked on cross-examination about, the fence, right? You recall that? Your
Yes.
investigation of the fence area?
Right.
And some of the points where the ice plant had climbed up some of the fence, correct? You were asked that on cross-examination.
Yes, that's what I was asked.
Okay,
yes.
so, did you, you didn't attempt to climb the fence, did you?
No, sir.
All right, so, the points that you picked along the fence were basic general descriptions of, just general points so you can start and have a measurement point from, correct?
Well, there was a purpose where, obviously the corner was the furthest distance, and the gate's obvious, it's there. The place where it was bent, I picked it because it was rusted and appeared that's where the most abuse, so to speak, had occurred. That's how I picked that point.
Can I get 20, please? Showing you court's exhibit number 20. You were asked this on cross-examination. You know the distance that's shown there in the dirt? How much time or how much distance are we talking about from the fence to the parking lot at the furthest point, as far as dirt goes?
I don't know, maybe 30 yards, 35 yards?
At the furthest point. And then the front of this picture, where the fence is visible, and let's say the white car, see the white car front? How far is that?
Maybe 10, 15 yards?
10, 15 yards? And then beyond the car that's in exhibit 20, the dark colored car in the front, is the parking lot to the shopping center nearby?
To the left of what's on the photo?
To the left of the vehicle that's shown there.
Yeah, but much further down.
Okay. I have nothing further on.
All right, anything further?
I don't.
All right, can this witness be excused?
Yes.
Yes, Your
All right, thank you, Mr. Sesma, have a nice day. Don't
you.
grab any exhibits, I'll leave all the exhibits behind.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, next witness?
Yes, Your Honor, we need to reserve that till Monday, our next witness.
Oh, in other words, you don't have any more witnesses here today? Okay,
That's another way of putting it.
that's right, okay, that's fine. We do, yes,
Can we have like a brief sidebar? We can do this unrecorded regarding scheduling?
yes, yes. All right, we are back on the record. Sorry, we're just talking about scheduling because we don't want to have you come here early and waste time if we're going to be doing things that need to be dealt with. So we're done for the day. We're just trying to figure out when we're going to have you come back. We're going to have you come back Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Because, all right, I'm seeing some fist pumps here. So yes, you get to sleep in a little bit. But keep in mind, Monday's a bad day for parking because we have a number of jurors that come in, so make sure you get here just a little bit early. But remember the secret parking place I told you about? When you come in, you go to the right, okay, over by the traffic court. There's lots of spots over there. So we'll see you Monday morning at 10. I did want to talk to you about the trial schedule. I sent you all home with a trial schedule, and it says that Friday, the week of June 3rd, we're going to be dark unless you're deliberating. You will have the case by Friday, okay? So, and I don't know how long the case will take to deliberate, but there's no time limit on deliberations. So that's the week of June 3rd. So Friday is the 7th, June 7th. Plan on being available that day because you will have the case by that day. I've told you we moved the case along pretty quickly. Yes, sir. Well, the alternates, you can still be seated as a juror on this case if one of the other jurors is unable to fulfill their duties. You will be back at work while they are deliberating if you're not seated as a juror. But it's going to be a long weekend. Someone might get sick, so you're still on the hook. But if you are still designated as an alternate, you will not be participating in the deliberations, but you must be available to come in because sometimes jurors get sick during deliberations, and we have to seat an alternate at that time. So, but for the 12 that are on the jury, keep a week from tomorrow open so you can deliberate. Again, I want to remind you that there's been a lot of media coverage, as you have heard from the testimony. Please be diligent this weekend. Do not listen to any news coverage. Don't read any news accounts of it. Leave your notebooks on your chairs. Don't discuss the case with anybody or form or express any opinions. And we'll see you back here Monday morning right at 9 o'clock. So have a great weekend. What'd I say? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Monday morning. It's a habit for me to say 9, so have a nice weekend. That's right. Reported, but what we did discuss, I'd like to put on the record, we're going to meet tomorrow morning at 9:30. We're going to go over jury instructions at 9:30. The motion that you wanted to make is an 1118.1 motion. Is that correct? We could hear it now, or you just want to make it tomorrow?
We can make it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, so I'll hear the 1118 motion tomorrow right at 9:30. We'll go over the jury instructions right after that. And so the plan then would be to meet again Monday morning at 9 o'clock to tie up any jury instructions that we might need to address. And then you'll have your witnesses here Monday morning at 10 to get started, okay?
That's fine, Your Honor. Can I address something since we're here? Let's see, I gotta find it first. As to the Summer Foster issue,
Right.
okay, we discussed, we're on record still, right? So we discussed that she had done an interview immediately after her testimony. She'd gone on Court TV, and there was there's a reference to a GoFundMe website or place, I don't know what you call it. For
Right, and you showed us all a picture of that. She's trying to raise $50,000 for her mom's mental health or something like that, correct?
Right, and so, oh, just imagine that. Looks like she just took it down. I was looking at it while we were in trial, at least I had it up when I was in trial, and she had indicated that the fund was set up to fund her mother's, she had a history of mental health, and that she wanted to get some sources, some resources to have continuing mental health for her and then her relocation. So, I can ask the court.
Do you want to bring her in?
That's what I'm debating, whether, because I'd like to inquire as to this past mental health that she's talking about, and this is what she's trying to get some type of monetary, I guess, contributions from other people on this mental health thing, and I need to find out more about it. I don't know whether I want to call her. I'm not going to call her if the court's not going to allow me to inquire into it.
Well, Mr. Owens, you want to be heard? It sounds like it goes to bias, interests, or other motives she may have had while she's been up here on the stand. If right after her testimony she starts a fundraising effort to raise money for her mom.
So I would agree in terms of maybe the pecuniary interest and whether or not she's out soliciting funds at this point in time, and it would go to her own credibility, and I would ask for a limiting instruction and not have any, that it be limited only to the assessment of that particular witness's credibility of Summer Foster. As to whether or not she has any knowledge of any mental health history or mental illness that Mr. Carlos is referencing, I think that is entirely irrelevant to the jury's determination and assessment of the credibility of Jane Doe number 1. I don't see how they would be able to get into that after the fact just because of an out-of-court statement that's now been made through a GoFundMe account.
All right, well, so the evidence of her attempting to raise this money immediately after her testimony is relevant to the credibility of Summer Foster.
That's
all right?
the people's position.
Right, and that's what it would be limited to. This does not open the door to get into any past mental history of Jane Doe number 1.
Except that she said that her mom, was the reason she acts the way she does is because she is
She's paranoid.
But she also keeps to herself and she doesn't get understood. If she has a history, well, now we know that she's an alcoholic. We know that from this particular witness, but if she has other issues that we aren't aware of, and that's what she's trying to defend, or at least she knows of past psychological issues that she may have, and then comes to sort of soothe them here in front of this jury, so that the jury thinks that there's nothing wrong with what she was doing. So I think that's unfair to Mr. Winslow.
Okay, well, so.
Let me, I just want to, can you turn this back on again, Emily? I want to make the record clear as to what she's saying. It says, in March of 2018, my mother was raped. She did not know her attacker.
Wait, make sure you read a little slower for the court reporter. And just to be clear, what are you reading? Is this the post she had to
Yes.
raise money for her mother?
This is the post, and there's a title. Do you have it?
Can we turn that back on?
You can turn it back on, or you can just read it into the record.
I can let the court see it, but whatever. So,
But while we're waiting for the projector to warm up, you can go ahead and
Sure.
read what,
all right,
this is what Summer Foster posted, correct?
right.
All right, what did she post?
In March of 2018, my mother was raped. She did not know her attacker. I recently became aware that the police had a suspect in custody and is currently on trial for many accusations of sexual misconduct. My mother will not be pursuing further legal action against this man. We are not interested in taking dirty money from a predator. We're allowing God to lead us on our path to healing. At this time, I would like to ask our community for your support. I'm concerned for my mother's well-being and safety. She has been suffering for a long time with mental illness, and this trauma has left her feeling insecure in her hometown. I'm raising money to fund my mother's therapy expenses as well as relocation expenses. Her rapist is living just a mile away from my mother's current residence. We do not know what the outcome of this trial will be, so I want to make sure that she'll be safe.
All right, well,
And the goal of her GoFundMe is $50,000.
okay, now that's what you had showed me earlier, I think it was this morning. The issue here is, deals with credibility, right? And so you are allowed to impeach the credibility of a witness through character evidence in the form of reputation and opinion. I think you did a very good job of that through Lisa Foster, establishing to the jury that she lied under oath, in her opinion, which is a specific instance, actually, of her not being truthful. So the question is, can she testify? The answer is yes. So yes, she can testify again if you want to recall her. But the next question, what's the scope of the examination? Can you ask her about this attempt to raise $50,000? Yes. You can ask her about the timing of it, but it sounds to me like you want to then cross-examine her or do a direct examination as to the history of her mother's mental illness. Is that correct?
Yes, because she's either doing one of two things. She either came into the court to try to shield or try to make her mother's testimony look better, and may have lied about her opinion as to her credibility and as to her symptoms. You know, she claims that her mother is, you know, very quiet, she keeps to herself. But if she knows that she has a long-standing history of mental illness, you know, that may be her attempt to shield that. In addition to that, if she doesn't have a long history of mental illness, then this witness is lying, trying to get money, in which case her entire testimony is suspect.
All right.
She was already suspect.
All right, but now I understand the argument. The only issue has to do with credibility, all right? So it sounds like you're trying to backdoor the issue of mental illness because she posted this, and we have two issues here, the credibility of Summer Foster and the credibility of Jane Doe number 1. Sounds like through this you want to attack the credibility of both, correct?
Correct.
So you want to ask her about her mother's history of mental illness? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, she put it out there, and she came into this court and told this jury that it wasn't mental illness, it was her mom's way of just the way she is. She's quiet and to
Well,
herself.
so the post says mentally ill rape victim recovery fund. So she is representing that her mother is mentally ill.
Right.
So, Mr. Owen, what if she's lying about that?
So,
Wouldn't that affect the credibility of Ms. Foster?
so Your Honor, what Mr. Carlos is attempting to do, and what he just said, was that this witness came in and testified to give her opinion of the credibility of her mother, which of course would be impermissible testimony and isn't actually what happened. Now what he's trying to do is use that as a mechanism to be able to get into things that are completely outside the scope of what this witness, Summer Foster, would be typically able to testify to. She's not able to render any opinions of the credibility of another witness. What she came in to do was to testify to prior statements that would be admissible that her mother had made to her own observations of what she saw the day after this assault, her own actions in helping her mother when her mother asked her to be able to report this attack that had happened. And then there was some questioning on cross-examination about what she knows about her mother and how her mother acts and how her mother tends, her characteristics of her mother. We did not get into any of the mental health history because of course we wouldn't be able to get into that area with a sexual assault victim who's previously testified just through her daughter. Now that she's made this solicitation, I understand that she may be recalled as a defense witness to go into whether or not she's seeking financial gain or some monetary value as a result of this media attention. But to allow that to then become a backdoor into the mental health history of her mother, I think would lead to way too many confusion of the issues for the jury and really isn't relevant to his consideration of whether or not Jane Doe #1 is a credible witness, and only whether or not Summer Foster is a credible witness as it relates to the financial aspect.
All right, Mr. Carlos, do you want to respond?
Just briefly, she's doing this on behalf of her mother. She's not doing it for herself. She's doing it, clearly she's doing it on behalf of her mentally ill mother.
Who knows?
The state of
That's
the
the
evidence,
point.
Your Honor, the state of the evidence is that according to Summer Foster, her mother had denied that she was the person who testified, that she's an extremely private person, and that her mother did not know that she was actually coming forward to the district attorney's office and then testifying in this trial. So for Mr. Carlos to then assume that she's doing this on behalf of her mother is really contradicted by what we already know and what's already been testified to.
Yeah, we don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that's to bring her in. So why don't you bring her in, and we'll hear from her Monday at 10. Now, the question is, what's the scope? You can ask her, you can show her the post, which the cat's out of the bag. It says mentally ill rape victim, and you can ask her if, in her opinion, her mother is mentally ill solely for the purpose of determining whether or not she's trying to profit impermissibly from her testimony here in court and from her mother testifying. She's not an expert. She can't render a diagnosis as to mental illness, and under 352, her opinion as to whether or not her mother is mentally ill does not reflect, there's not a whole lot of probative value to that type of information to shed some light on the credibility of Jane Doe #1. Whether she thinks her mother is mentally ill is highly probative on the issue of credibility when she's posting this asking for $50,000 claiming her mother's mentally ill. And if she says no, she doesn't think she's mentally ill, then you can ask her, well, why are you lying on this GoFundMe page? So I will allow you to ask her about the post, which is being displayed right now on the screen. In fact, why don't we mark that as an exhibit?
Sure.
Has this been taken down?
It's been taken down off the internet.
It appears that it's no longer live
Okay, so this is a screenshot from her GoFundMe page?
from this morning.
Okay, we'll mark that. What will this be, Maria?
Okay, that will be Court's Exhibit number 182.
Okay, we'll mark it as 182 for the record, and you can ask her about that, and you can ask her about her motives. But I'm not going to let her testify as an expert and state whether or not her mother has a mental illness. Unless you can lay the foundation, I don't think you're going to be able to lay the foundation for her. All right? So that's what we'll do. We'll see everybody. So we'll see you all back here tomorrow morning at 9:30 for the 1118.1 motion. Email me all your jury instructions. We need to craft a statute of limitation instruction.
Basic jury instructions. We still need to work on a couple of specials.
Well, have them ready for tomorrow. You have a whole evening to work on them. So
we have three competing, you know, we had heads to butt here, so.
Okay.
We'll do what we can.
Well, out of the three attorneys, I'm sure one of you can draft an instruction on the statute of limitations one. I think, Ms. Barr, weren't you already working on it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Owens, do you have one?
I do have one, and Ms. Barr and I were talking about that this morning, about what she's proposing adding to it.
Okay, maybe the two of you can come to an agreement. So why don't you email each other tonight, and I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9:30 for the 1118.1 motion, and we'll go make a first pass to the jury instructions, because as I said back in the hallway, we always have to have a second run through, especially on a case like this with so many instructions. Also, think about LIOs and the 1108 instruction as well. All right? Any further
Is
requests?
the court gonna have to have a hearing regarding LIOs with the defendant, like we did for, remember at the beginning of the case?
Right,
Your Honor,
under,
there's been a new case that was published regarding McCoy. I think the court may have seen it already.
it was McCoy versus Louisiana.
Yes, but then there's been a new appellate court decision that came out of Sacramento, actually this week, 2 days ago, that I think strictly limited the applicability of McCoy under California law. So I understand the need to potentially do an inquiry, but I just want to make sure that council's aware that I could forward that to everyone.
Okay, why don't you forward it to counsel and the court, and, but that's just something to think about, okay? Because we'll have to think about the LIOs, the 1108, and any other special instructions, and specifically the statute of limitation instruction. All right, we'll see everybody back here tomorrow morning, right at 9:30. We're in recess.
Bingo.